Welcome to the Hawatmeh show on American One. Today I have a special guest. He immigrated here from the Philippines, involved politically in New York, a veteran, conservative, Santos Lopez, the real Santos. Stay tuned. I'm sure you have heard of the show Orange Choppers. Well, the marketing genius behind it is this conservative right here. Santos, thank you for coming on.
Hey, how are you? I'm not the marketing guru behind it. I just kind of helped them out a little bit towards the end here. And I'm currently healing from my little car crash, as you know. So I'm doing good and taking a little sabbatical from things.
You are a warrior of a veteran.
Yes.
And you stay true to red, white, and blue. I love your background and what you do in New York and in America.
Oh, no, thanks. Because, I was an immigrant, came here from the Philippines, and I look at the world today, and I'm seeing a lot of things wrong because I had to go through a process. People had to go through a process. Your parents had to go through a process, and I think our borders are out of control on a lot of different things, and a lot of that I think is caused by communication between parties and just people in general. If you're on one side, you don't talk to the other side. If you're on the other side, you don't want to talk to the other side, and things are getting messed up.
Well, that's one thing you want to talk about is communication from both sides and finding common ground so that we can actually unite and find things in common to actually move forward, because we're not moving forward, and the direction that America is going in is the opposite direction that we hope for our children. So what are your ideas? What are your views?
Well, I mean, I think we more have to think about not every 4 years or every 2 years that people are looking just to get reelected, but we have to start thinking about the long game like other countries are. We're only thinking, how is this going to affect our future for their kids? Like the overspending. I granted we need certain services and things, but we don't need a lot of it's frivolous spending on a lot of different things. And I'm babbling because there's a lot of things going in my head. And when 20 million directions are going at the same time, it kind of bottlenecks out of my mouth. So it kind of goes nuts because there's so much to cover at one spot, whether it's immigration, taxes, gun control. And as an immigrant, I came here from the Philippines, and I always loved America. And I'm doing some amazing stuff. And I got to represent, Orange County choppers around the world. Now I'm working with some clients from the U.S. government to some really, really big brands. And I love that. And I got to be, and I was a Navy veteran forever. And I got to appreciate America for what she is. And it's not just one-sided or another. We all have to talk. And Lincoln said it first, divided we fall. And if we keep dividing ourselves, the union is going to fall. So how do we fix that? I think we all have to start talking again. Put down your biases, and we have to start talking again. If you're a Democrat,
I mean, I agree with you, but how do you start talking without compromising? Because there's always one side that doesn't want to compromise. I refuse to compromise, but I do agree with you in regards to communication. So what do you do when we're not willing to compromise, but yet you say we have to communicate?
Well, I think part of it too is I believe one, you have to start one person at a time, and two, what's that rule? If you give somebody enough rope, they'll hang themselves with it. Sometimes you have to let it happen. They're like, oh yeah, that was screwed up, and then the people will realize, oh, they did screw up, and we'll get rid of them, like what's happening now. Let's say with some crime. Oh, let's be lenient on crime. Let's not people make accountable for their actions. And look what's happened. Crime rate's going up, and who's going to get the blame? The people who put it in place. So sometimes I guess you might have to let it happen, and then the people will realize, hey, these guys were screwed up, and we shouldn't have done it that way. Yeah. And it's like, okay, I told you so.
Yep.
So sometimes things have to happen in order to put that in place. And now, if you looked at some of the Democratic side, they're kind of like beating themselves up and fighting over the same territory because like, oh, we're sticking to our guns, but then all of a sudden, this common sense stuff, they were actually right. And was it because the past few years, was it because they were really wrong, or they were just going against the former president and just saying they were opposite, even though he was right? Look at the COVID situation. They were saying, oh, masks are going to work. Now they're saying masks don't work. The hydrochloroquine wasn't going to work. Now it is working. So were they getting at him just to get at him, or were they really pushing the science? So sometimes you have to let time fix itself. Let's say, let's just give them enough, like I said, give them enough rope. In this case, give them enough time. They'll screw up and they'll realize how much they screwed up. And now we have to fix it.
But we do definitely have to keep in consideration accountability. There isn't enough accountability. I mean, time can fix itself. However, we need to rewind and hold those accountable in order to fix and move forward.
Exactly. So like the first thing they teach you in leadership training is with responsibility comes accountability. So you're responsible for your actions. Now you messed up. You purposely did something. Now you got to be held accountable for your actions that you just did. So that's what people are forgetting how to do, and putting common sense back into politics. And I think that's what we have to do in life in general. We do that with our basic lives with our kids. If you put your hand in the fire, you're going to get burned. Oh, don't touch the stove. Don't do this. And then if kids realize that, oh, maybe I shouldn't have touched that stove. So don't. We got to start putting common sense into it.
Absolutely. So how did you get involved in politics in New York?
When they first did the SAFE Act, I hated. I'm a gun enthusiast. I love competition shooting. I've always held it. And then living in the Philippines, when Marcos declared martial law, that's when we left the country. And when they started doing gun control here in New York, and especially it's my hobbies, my personal passions, I love to target shoot, sportsman. I love shooting guns and being a sportsman. And they started regulating it here in New York, and all of a sudden I became a criminal. So I started getting active in the Second Amendment clauses, because over a swipe of a pen, all of a sudden I'm a criminal. Sorry. and regulating me. Now I have to take classes, this, that. I spent so many years in the military. It was like, all of a sudden I have to take so many classes now, or this firearm is illegal, or that you can't have this. I
completely agree with you. When they got rid of Cuomo, I told them to get rid of. I wish they got rid of everything that came in with him, like the SAFE Act, because to regulate the Second Amendment, put regulations on our amendments. That's just not right. And thank you for what you do and standing up.
And people forget why the Second Amendment was put in there, and I think they don't want to say it out loud. Is it was put into place a system of checks and balances against a tyrannical government, and against people that are tyrannical against their government. Even if I decide to run for office, or you decide to run for office, people like us. So we don't. So that's why it was there.
You have such conservative views, as a minority in New York. You find you're friends with both sides, the Democrats and the Republican friends, and you break bread with everyone. What's your advice, and how do you do that, and how do we move forward for the sake of our kids, and compromising, or even getting along where we can have a better America for tomorrow?
And I don't even consider myself a minority. I consider myself, Santos. That's just me. I'm the real Santos, and I can't stand up.
The real Santos. When I introduced you.
And I can't stand up right now because I did get in a car accident, and I have 11 plates, and there are 2 plates and 11 screws holding my leg together. So, but the way we have to do it is we just have to teach common sense laws. It's not a matter of Democrat, Republican. The issue is right, wrong, good, and bad. So we have to get values back into our school systems. Parents have to parent. And I think 90% of the issues can be solved by parenting. More parents have to get involved. Your parents were involved. My parents were involved with our growing up. We may not have liked it, but then all of a sudden, as you get older, there was a method to their madness. And we just have to start treating people like people. There's the Bible is a good role model as well. And common sense is a good role model. And the Constitution of the United States is a good role model and a model to go by. And we just have to stick to those three books. I think the Bible is one of them. The Constitution of the United States is another one. And listen to common sense. And a lot of people are not doing those three things.
I couldn't agree with you more. That is a great advice. Definitely agree with you in regards to that. You came on, you wanted to talk about communication, and the biggest issue, I feel one of the big issues, is our schools and our children. And so definitely agree with you on that. Thank you for coming on. In closing, anything else you'd like to say? Any advice out there?
I guess the time has come as I spent like my 113 days in the hospital. I think we just have to start talking. Even if you don't like the other side, at least make an attempt. You may want to beat your head against a wall, but at least it's a start. And maybe you'll break one of the bricks.
Yes. Well, thank you again, and praying for a speedy recovery. God bless. Thanks, Santos.
Thank you, Ola.